Hello everybody, Ckixy here, and today I got a bit of an update to my Halo style shield, or health system, and also a new command block invention, a player selector system, or yeah, I guess you could call it that. Well, first off, my Halo style shield is actually now, I'm going to be calling it a Call of Duty style shield, or style health system, because I wasn't thinking, and I called it the Halo style health system because I was basing it off of Vex's shield design, but I realized that Halo 4 was the only one that had just health, no shield, or you could say that it had a shield but no health. As soon as the shield was gone, you're completely dead. So I'm basing this more off of Call of Duty now, where you get injured, you stay out of harm's way for about 10 seconds or so, and then you'll start regenerating. So, just minor tweak that it's now Call of Duty. And as you can see, I've done quite a bit, and if you're wondering why it's so large, I actually have two systems on top of each other. So first thing I want to get into is timing and all that. So Call of Duty, I believe it's roughly 10 seconds between the time that you take damage and the time that you heal. So mine wasn't quite cutting it because I only had 2 drain cells, which I did the math and it comes out to 3 seconds. Because, actually, let me explain how the timing works. Basically, a redstone tick is 1/10 of a second, and repeaters and comparators, both at their base setting, are 1 redstone tick. And then repeaters could go up to 4 redstone ticks. So that means that comparators are 1 redstone tick, which is 1/10 of a second. So if you have 2 of them, and each, so when you first send a pulse to it, it's a 15 length pulse. And then as it goes through cycles, which means a full loop between 2 comparators, it loses 1 signal each time, all the way down to 0. So if it does 15 cycles to lose all of its length, and it has 2 comparators, that means that it's 2/10 of a second per cycle times 15, which comes out to 3.0 seconds, which is 3 seconds. So each of the drain cells are 3 seconds. So what I did over here is, this was my original design up there, my new one. Basically I have 4 drain cells, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and I had it where the master input right here would activate this one, the last one, and the first one. What that would do is it'd make sure that the last one, which triggered the health system, would deactivate if you took damage during the health recovery process. And then it'll also activate the first one, which would activate in a loop, and it would keep that signal on. So as you can see, it's quite big and cumbersome. And if you put, so this is 4 of them, which comes out to 12 seconds. And what I did over here is I was wondering if there's a way to make like a huge, just a single, what do I call them? Drain cells. So what I did here is just made a massive drain cell, which what it does is it's just a regular drain cell, but with a whole bunch of comparators in between, which causes it to have extra ticks. So if you count here, I have 4 of them, which each have 2 comparators, which are both 1 tick each. So that's 8 ticks total. 8 ticks times 15 because it drains, which comes out to 12 seconds. So what I did here is just put it in the same shape as a regular drain cell, but with extra ones in between, which comes out to 8. So it is the same exact amount. So it comes out to 12 seconds as well. The only difference between these two is this one will finish 3 or 0.3 seconds later because it has these 3 comparators. So let me show you that this completely works. As you can see, both torches shut off, and this one will turn on just a split second or 0.3 seconds before the second torch over there. And there you go. So they're basically the same exact timing besides the delay from the repeaters. So I took this design up here and implemented it. So if you look over here, that's almost the same size as just 2 drain cells next to each other. So it's very compact and a lot thinner. And also, if you look at this design, the timer over here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 blocks tall. And then this also sticks out 1 block below. Actually no, that's just sound, so that's not included. So as you can see, it's 4 blocks tall. What I did here is I compacted it as much as I can, and I got it to 3 blocks tall. And that gets to my next part, which someone asked if this system over here was for 20 players, because they saw 20 command blocks, and that is no. This whole entire system is for 1 person, because each person has 20 health, I guess you could say, because you have 10 hearts, which each of those hearts can be divided by half. So 20 health in total. So that's why I have 20 command blocks. So what I did here is I stacked 2 of them on top of each other for multiplayer. And now multiplayer adds an entire new issue to this, because before I was just healing at player. If you look at this, I had the test for at player score health minimum of 1. And so it checks if that score is a health minimum of 1. Now for multiplayer, you have to figure out which player is which. And so I'm not going to show you those command blocks yet. Over here I have my player selector, because for a command block to see what player is what, you have to specify a name. But the issue with that is you can't know exactly who's going to be playing your map, so you can't assign a name for every person. So what you do instead is you assign a number to a specific player. And how you do that is doing targeting a player through @p and assigning them a score. So let me go ahead and turn this on and let it do its stuff. And as you can see on the side, it says player Ckixy 1. So I am now player 1. So what that did is when this torch goes off, this starts a clock. The clock will do scoreboard at player, or player set at player, with a score player equal to 1. And then it'll set that person's score to 1. And actually, I messed up here. That's a maximum of 1. I actually wanted a maximum of 0, because you always start with 0. So let me just test it and make sure it works. Yeah, there we go. So I want to point out, if you do score, player, and then just a number, that's a maximum score, not a precise score, a maximum. And then if you do, where is it? If you do a minimum, that's the minimum score that they could have. So they could have that score or above it, and then score player is that score or below it. So when you want a precise number, like if you want just number 1, you actually have to specify a minimum and maximum. And I both have 1s, because you just want the 1. You don't want 1 or below or 1 and above. So what I do here is these first 3 command blocks only need to be activated once, usually, besides the center one. The center one will take new players, which will have 0 score, and set them to player 1. This command block over here will set the objective of player. It's a dummy objective. And then this is the display name, which is player with a capital P. Within the command block coding, you don't have to use capital, because this is its actual used name. This is just the display name, which goes over here. Then that corresponds with this, which is scoreboard objective set display, which is on the sidebar. And then over here on our first command block, we test for at player with a score minimum of 1 and maximum of 1, which once this is set, you should already have 1. So as you can see, it's testing positive for 1 player. Now if 2 players join and they're both set to score 1, This will detect 2 players, which with comparators, if it detects more than 1 player, it will actually extend its signal to however many players it is. So if one more player joins and is set to player 1, it will actually activate this last piece of redstone right here, which will activate this block, which is, let me go over. These codes get really long once you start with all the score. So it says scoreboard players set at player with a minimum of 1 and a maximum of 1. So it's taking player 1 and it's saying do player objective set to 2. So this will set a player score to 2, whoever's closest to the command block. So once player 1 gets his official number, he will walk off somewhere because it's a lobby and usually you walk away and explore areas. So then when player 2 joins the game, he will be player 0, and then this grabs his name and makes it player 1. Now there's 2 player 1s, but since player 1 has already got his name and walked somewhere else or teleported away, player 2 comes along and is now player 1, and now there's 2 player 1s, so it grabs his name or the closest player and sets him to 2. So now it removes the second player 1 and adds him into 2, and so on and so forth. So if a third player joins, it'll go 1, 2, and then set him to 3 because both of those already have players in it. So with that, if you've seen the maximum and minimum player name, we just took the same exact setup here, and we do test score at player score player minimum of 2 and maximum of 2. And then we do score health minimum of then the testing amount, and so we have 20 all the way down to 1. And so if you saw, that was testing for player 2, and then this one down here we do score test for player 1. This one I did not add the minimum just because, well, I actually forgot, and if you're player 1, there should be no player 0 when you actually launch the game, because everyone should be with a specific ID number. So let me show you these two working. So let me activate both of them, and if I go survival and injure myself, you'll see those lights go on. And then I'm actually not going to show the bottom one because it's hard to walk around, but you can see that the bottom one's activating, the top one is not active. The top one is extended though, because it cannot test for a player that's non-existent. So it's testing for player 2, but there is none player 2 that matches the criteria. So it just deactivates all these because it cannot test properly. Which does prove us a point, or prove us difficulty, because here I have a simple command block that sets me to player 2 instead of having to have a second player that joins. But did you just see that, how I instantly got health? That's because these are extended, and then once they retract, they actually send the signal through for a split second. So it does have a few bugs that will cause you to get health, but this player selector should be done during the setup of a match. So you know, like in Call of Duty, you have matchmaking. Once you hit a lobby, it has like 30-second lobby timer, and then 10 seconds before the game it says match is starting. Well, during that process, this is what's going to be going on. During the lobby, it's going to be assigning players specific numbers, and then once the match is setting up, then it will actually start setting up the health system. So while you're in lobby, you might just randomly get health regen for a split second, but it should go away just in seconds. So let me show you all the components. So I injure myself. You could see these go on. This is all to 11, and then it goes 10 and 9. And then as you can see, this is the huge drain cell. There's the inverter torch, which goes to the pulse limiter, and then that's the mechanic that heals you. Let me go in survival or creative. Okay, so what I ran into a few issues with this drain cell. is if you send it a small pulse or pulse from a monostable circuit, it will actually start cycling in circles. So you can see here it just goes in circles, which that proved a point. It still drains, but the torch starts flickering. So what I had to do there is I have a this is the main line which comes down, and then what I did here, which I just realized that this is 10 and this exceeds 10, so I need to put comparator there, or repeater. Okay, so anyways, so what this does is this comparator right here activates this side of the drain cell, and then it branches off to this one, which goes below it, and it has a comparator which goes into this block, which activates this side of the to the drain cell. So it'll actually start filling up from both sides. If you watch it, let me activate it. So as you can see, it fills from both sides, and I thought that'd be an issue. Oh, actually I could fix it. Let me set this to 3. When I added that, it made it where the pulses didn't match correctly. So let me do this again. And there you go. See how it filled from both sides and it stayed on? Because it matched both sides perfectly. They went at the same time. And so that's how I fixed that. Any bigger than this drain cell, like if you wanted to go above 12 seconds, I'm not sure if it'll work because it might have issues. You might have to use a pulse extender or something. So now if we come over here, you can see that we have this torch which activates this comparator, which is the clock that does the healing and makes sure that you don't have 20 health, and once you do have 20 health it shuts itself off. So the one that checks for 20 health, it has to activate the torch, because as soon as you don't have 20 health, that'll go negative, which the torch will go positive. And then we also have backup for the drain cells, so if the drain cells are active during your health process, these will deactivate the torch. What that does is if you take damage during the process of it healing, it will make sure that it disables it within time. So what we did here is you can see we have a repeater there and a torch here. The torch is the monostable, which is right here. You can see the torch on the last drain cell, and then monostable, which goes through to the command block, the test for 20 health, which is right here. And then this repeater comes around to where the torch is. So as you can see, command block and repeater both come to the torch, and then here's just the simple clock, and that will activate both of those. So that's basically all the systems. So as you've seen, it will actually separate the 2 players. So if I go into survival and injure myself, you can see the bottom one doesn't activate because currently there is no player 1. That's why all these are testing negative. So that's actually a good thing. And now watch this. As I heal up, wait for it. There we go. As you saw, that was actually very delayed. Before it used to be a lot faster. I must have messed up some timing. But before it would deactivate within 2 hearts of healing. But as you saw there, it was about 3 or 4 hearts of healing. But still, that's pretty good, because if you're in PvP and you take a few hearts of damage and then the healing shuts off, it should be decently fair. It's kind of annoying that like you could still be healing during PvP and then it shuts off, but I can't really control that because there's delay in repeaters and all that. So I think that's about it. Thanks for watching. See you next time.